Hello, my fellow Angelists. It's me, Michael, your favorite thought provoker. Today, I want to talk with you about a very simple model that can help you as a product owner, or if you're a Scrum Master, to help you support your product owner in identifying different kinds of customers. This model comes from Six Sigma, and I also find it very useful in an agile context. The model typically is used in a matrix, but I prefer this kind of a Venn diagram. And basically the idea is that there are three different types of customer. The first one we call the primary customer. And the primary customers are those who actually use your product. Those who work with it every day, or those who use it for any other purpose than working. And then there's the so-called secondary customers. They're basically the purchasers, the decision makers. What's the difference between a primary and a secondary customer? Let's just take the business world as a very simple example. It could be that you want to use the new tool, but the purchasing decision is ultimately made by your manager. So your manager would be the secondary customer. They might not even care for the tool because they're not going to work with it. You're going to do it, but they have to approve for the spending. And then we have the so-called indirect customers. They're regulators. They're people who formulate requirements for your product, but they don't really care about your product itself because they're neither paying for it nor are they going to use it. Coming back to our example, the typical example here would be lawmakers. There's legal requirements that your product has to fulfill, for example, data protection regulations. And the lawmakers, they don't care about your product as long as it complies to the legal regulation. If it doesn't, they might have something to say about this. But as long as it does, they don't really care what you're doing, how you're doing, when you're doing things, and why you're doing things. So this one, I would like to give a typical example that is always being used in this context, and that is you're assuming to be producing teddy bears. So who is using teddy bears? Who wants to have them? The children like to have this teddy bear, so they would be your primary customers. You're developing teddy bears for children. But what happens when you produce a kind of a teddy bear that the parents say, I will not let this teddy bear enter the room of my child. So basically, you can't sell any of them because the children are not going to buy it regardless of how much. Well, in some cases the children can nag their parents until they buy, but ultimately purchase decision is being made by the parents. And teddy bears, like pretty much any other product you sell on the open market, they have to meet certain health and safety regulation standards. For example, you're not allowed to use toxic materials in the production. It has to be allergy free and things like that. So the EU health and safety regulations, they would have some requirements for your teddy bear, but they don't care about your teddy bear. They don't care if you sell a single one of them. They don't care how expensive it is or how nice it looks. They care that certain standards are met. And this diagram is also a typical example of how this model could work out in different ways. For example, the child could have money by themselves and they could go out and buy their own teddy bear, which might make them both a primary and a secondary customer. If you're targeting children directly to buy teddy bears with their pocket money, they would be both primary and secondary in this kind of context. And sometimes parents would also buy the teddy bears for themselves when they're cute. So in this case, we could have primary and secondary customer together, and that's why I personally prefer the matrix diagram. Now, we were only talking about the real customers who actually buy your product, but in many organizations you have something which I would call the discrimination between internal and external customer. What's an external customer? In this case, it's obvious. I just want to expand the example a little bit by adding so-called internal customers. And the first internal customer I would like to add would be marketing. They make decisions about who your product is being sold to. They determine the target groups, they determine the audience, and they might have some requirements like it needs to have a really nice packaging, or we want a minus 20% sticker right on the top. Things like that could be coming from marketing, but ultimately marketing isn't going to be the people who spend the money on your product. And then we might also have indirect internal customers. The example here would be finance. They say, we don't care about how you build a product, we don't care what it looks like, but it has to be profitable. So they have a constraint on how you're going to develop the product. So that is the practical example how to use a customer identification process. And interestingly, this one also maps quite well to the Kano model. Let me just draw the Kano model real quick. You have the exciters, you have the performance, and you have the hygiene requirements. And indirect customers, they always have hygiene requirements, because as much effort as you spend in there, they're never going to buy it and they're never going to be happy, but they could become unhappy very fast. Now the primary customers, they care about excitement factors. Daddy, this is the teddy bear I want. It looks really nice. This is really fun. I want to hug it. Oh, I want to take it home. That is a kind of statement that would tip a primary customer's purchase decision. They want something in their product that they cannot have from other products. And the secondary customers, they typically go for performance, in a sense that they tend to be quite cool in calculating what is the best value that I'm actually getting for my money. Should I buy a cheaper product that has less features? Should I buy a more expensive product that has more features? And if I have products A and B and they have different features, which of those features are more useful in our context? So this is how the model also maps to the Kano model. And if you find it useful, please leave a like. If you would like to know more about it, just drop a comment below and we can get into a discussion. Feel free to connect on LinkedIn, and please subscribe if you haven't done it, because there will be more videos coming up. Okay? Enjoy!